All right, brother Dave. What you got for us?
All right. Do you guys, I don't want to say talk to yourselves, but do you think to yourselves?
All the time.
And when you think to yourself, does yourself respond to what you're thinking? Like, do you have an inner monologue? Do you
Yes.
and
how I
you see
solve a lot of my
somebody
problems.
going around and you're thinking, when I think what the hell is this dude doing? That's what's going through my head. And I believe consciousness, in my opinion, happens as soon as you're birthed.
Okay.
And my question is, before you learn your native tongue, what language do you think your inner monologue is in?
You know, I think it depending on how deep you want to go. I think there's a firm belief that it is like some ancient language that we are born with.
Sumerian.
Do you think? Because I've not heard this before, but I wonder if there's like a language of our God that we just
Sumerian.
Yeah.
You've never heard of that?
No, but I've been really thinking about this a lot lately.
The Anunnaki. And,
Yeah. Oh, I know about the Anunnaki and the Sumerians.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's what they speak. That's the oldest documented language in the world, I believe.
Now, do you think that baby jargon could be that language?
I've never heard I've never heard Sumerian
Has
spoken.
anyone?
Has it? No, nobody has.
Nobody alive today.
So what if Goo Goo Gaga, or you know what I mean?
The baby coos is Sumerian.
What if that's actually a language of our creator?
I am throwing it out there that I would believe in that.
Because you got to have something. Because I think your consciousness exists as soon as probably before you hit the birth canal. Like somewhere in there, you're human.
I think when the old doc holds you up so they can see, you can see that first time before you cut the cord. I think that's when your consciousness starts. So you think it starts in the womb?
I don't have any evidence to argue one way or the other, but let's just say it's when the doctor's holding you and you've come into oxygen.
You see that light for the first time.
Come into oxygen for the first time, you've got to have a thought. Now, none of us remember it, but you've got to have a thought like, oh, shit.
Okay, you ready?
Go ahead.
On the language of thought hypothesis, our thoughts do take place in a language, but not in a natural language. Rather, our thoughts take place in a kind of mental language, often referred to as mentalese.
Mentalese.
That's how I would have said it.
Yeah.
How do you communicate with a dog?
Monologue form Greek
Shock collar.
alone and also
Yeah.
refer to dramatic scene which actor soliloquizes. Yeah.
Got
Sounds
really
like-
tapered off there.
Yeah, I really kind of didn't understand what that was saying, but yeah, I think you guys ever watch that movie Baby Geniuses? I'm having hella deja vu right now because I think
Have I brought this up before?
I think so. Yeah,
Is this the second time we've talked about
I
this?
believe this might be. Yeah,
But it's okay.
It's all
Casey,
right.
what do you think? Have I brought this up before?
We've talked
Damn it.
about the inner monologue stuff, but I don't know if you've gone.
that probably came in with that
Introspect.
introspection talk too, but I don't think the inner monologue really came in.
we didn't. get this
We've
deep.
talked about,
Wanderers, if you've heard us talk about this before, I apologize.
but going back to Baby Geniuses,
Is that
This
a
does
cartoon?
sound familiar. No.
no, it's a movie.
Damn it. Maybe I did bring this up.
mission to take place at Babyco. We have a very important mission to take place at Babyco. You never seen?
You remember Look Who's Talking?
No.
Yeah, look who's talking too.
Yeah.
Baby
Is that with
Double O.
Arnold Schwarzenegger?
Baby Geniuses was
My name is
a
Arnold Schwarzenegger.
movie about
How smart they're like geniuses.
Yes.
Until they learn to talk and then they
No.
forget everything
you know when it goes away.
when they learn to talk.
No,
When was it?
they lose their first tooth.
Oh.
No, they get their first tooth.
Negative. Lose it. No,
That's
get
9.
It. Get it.
That's
You're right.
not
Get
9.
it.
Yeah, it's when they get their first tooth.
Yeah. Because they know the secrets to the world. They know secrets of life. They can speak 50 different languages. They're all super wicked smart.
So what does the getting of a tooth have to do with anything?
So
Does that pain just
not a
wipe
baby.
it all away?
You're not a baby anymore.
Maybe before that point in time that you're whole as you're made by the Creator, and that's the first time something punctures,
And then it all leaks out.
then it all leaks out.
I don't know. I think there's something to be said because like you hear people that are twins and they have this wavelength communication, this different kind of symbiotic relationship that it's something that's unspoken. So I definitely believe that there is.
Well, and then there's intelligent creatures like dolphins and octopi and whatnot. Like, what if there's just a universal language, and you're on the same page, and you just get indoctrinated by your tribe, which our tribe is pretty big, being the U.S. of A. and more or less most of England.
All that other stuff.
Yeah.
So what if you just
Speaking of England, you guys see that? God dang! Talk about 180 degrees. There was this Tic Tac. I've been on the Tic Tac a little bit again lately, and there was this fellow over there in the UK. And you know how they're doing the 100 man versus a gorilla, and this guy's like, "To heck with that! How about 100 Brits versus 100 Americans?" And everybody's like, "Whoa, you tried that."
Oh my!
it actually would probably 1,000 Brits to 100 Americans.
Yeah.
I mean, if we're gonna go there, but I mean, I think there is. I think there's that.
My twins did a lot of kooky shit when they were babies.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
I think that's a different.
yeah. They've got that. They've got that twin. They're on that twin plane.
Like so much of what you know is just what I shouldn't say what you know. I feel like part of being human, like there's just something that comes naturally. Like you just like morals, everything. Like there's just something that's there.
Like breathing.
Yeah, but beyond farther than just existing. Like every grass exists. It doesn't breathe, but it exists. It's just here. But I feel like humans, like human beings, like we've got morals and we've got conscience.
Some do.
And
Some do.
well, for the most part.
Yeah.
And you've got all that, and you have that regardless of.
There's a baseline.
Yeah, and with that baseline, that's what makes me wonder. Like, can all babies just understand what other babies are thinking? Kind of like we know dogs can communicate and pick up what the other one's putting down. Like, there's got to be something there, and I'm just curious. Like, is it?
I don't remember.
Well, I wouldn't expect you to, pal.
I
We've all
wouldn't
drank since then.
Wouldn't remember. I don't remember what I was like when I was a baby, learning like what shit was and mama and dad and stuff like that. I don't know. So I don't know how to, educatedly answer your question. But
And I wasn't looking for. I
I
don't
would
think
more-
you
I
can,
would-
I don't
I
think
would-
anybody can answer
I would
it
say
with specifics.
it's more of just I don't know. Yeah, like like if you first day on the job type thing, you're just kind of taking it all in, watching, picking up on things, shit like that, and then you just kind of.
But you still know that you want to cry. If you're a baby, little bit bambino, you want to cry. Something's wrong. You cry. You do this. You got to have an inner monologue. You got to have something in your system telling
And
you
so
what's
they're
going on.
smart enough to communicate that to the parents that.
And if they're smart enough
Well,
to
I
do that
think
and
that's
figure out how to do that, and like between birth and talking, like you'll see all these kids, oh, you can tell that one's spoiled. He just does this because he always gets that, like throwing the shit on the ground, playing the game. If you're smart enough to figure all that out before you talk, like you've got an inner monologue.
Well,
And what language is it?
and I think little kids are keen observers
Sponges.
of what goes on around them. So they know they have a very high, I would speculate that they have a very high emotional intelligence to what goes on.
In what language is that intelligence in?
Well, I think to get to the point where it's English,
Bananas.
Just general knowledge.
But you
I
got
don't know.
you got an inner monologue. You're talking to
but
yourself.
I don't think the language is not a. It's not a language.
It's something though.
It's not a spoken language like that. Googs said it's just a mental ease, it's just a mental, like
But where does that?
It's a state of being. That's what it is. It's a state of being.
it's part of your
But when you're
your
thinking,
soul, like it's when
"Man,
you're born, like it's just something that it's that spark.
I've got something in my diaper and it doesn't feel good. I need this big fleshy bitch to change my diaper." You're thinking it to yourself,
Mhm.
and I want to know what language that's in.
Why does it have to be in a language?
It has to be something you're
Yeah, I know,
thinking.
but you don't put it into words. You just know it's a feeling.
But
And-
you're still communicating. Your inner self is communicating to your outer.
What language does your brain speak to tell your heart to beat?
That's what I'm saying.
It doesn't. It just does.
Man, I don't know.
What language does your brain speak to tell your eyes to blink?
Oh,
It doesn't.
damn.
You know what I mean?
It's a state
just
of
a,
being.
It's just a thing. Like it just does. It's not a language. Does that make sense?
It does.
So you're looking for a language when in reality it's just a state of being.
It's just a thing.
What if that? And I say language, and maybe I should say that I'm using that loosely. It's just it's just a state of understanding.
Yeah.
Correct.
But I guess I'm curious if that ties into some sort of more divine,
100%.
It's like, like what you know how like deer communicate with a series of grunts and bleats and
yeah.
snort wheezes and things that they make, But like what language does a deer speak?
But at that neural level, if you could crack that code, could you talk to deer? Because
You already
can. I'm saying like
really get down to the nuts and bolts of it. Like, hey,
like ask him,
what'd you have for lunch yesterday?
what's your name, pal?
Yeah. Tony! You, Tony! What, on that same level, though, it's like you say on that neuro level, what's to say that those deer are not on a very similar or comparative neuro level than what we are?
No, that's exactly what I'm saying.
Yeah,
Is
like
there a
there's what's to
base?
say-
Is there a base like we are all
What's to
living
say
things
that
on Earth? Is there a wavelength that we could all?
what's to say that
communicate together?
the human race? There's no way you can say that the human race is smarter than that frog that was sticking to that window out there.
No,
You know what I'm saying?
you're right. That's exactly what I'm saying. I'm
Yeah.
saying, is there a base? Is there a base knowledge, and I want to say communication, but that's not the word. But we're all made of the same cells, right? Like we're all made of the same atoms, and you break it down to anything that humankind has ever found. We're all made of the same material. Are we all doing and speaking the same language? We've just turned it into our own. Is there a way that you could tie that in? Like when you're born from the womb, like can babies talk to dogs because they haven't learned their own language and just lost their way? Like are we all speaking the same thing as just beings on, in my opinion, my belief, God's earth, and we're all brought into existence and talk to dogs or the frogs or the
But I think
trees or the bees or whatever.
That goes back though to like in the Bible, the Tower of Babylon, when they destroyed that, because that was the central point of where these people could all communicate, and then all of a sudden
That was almost
because
another
they
topic
had
of mine
sin.
once. Do you think that that app or the company Babel is sacrilegious? Because that's why it's called. That's why you call it Babel. Like, oh, it's just Babel. I don't understand it. Because after the Tower of Babylon, you can't understand what everybody else is saying. So yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying.
But
Like
I
at
think
one point in time, we were everybody from any nation, from any place, according to the religion that I'm into, could communicate and understand what each other was saying. And then we built the tower, and we were getting too big for our britches, and
God
Now you're all going to
Smited
speak
us.
different languages because you guys are getting too powerful as one. And it never said so much because you had talked to a fish. Could you talk to a flea? Hey there, little feller. Why you biting on me?
But I think
Because you taste good, bitch. You know what I mean?
but I think that's the difference of the
You big fat fleshy bastard. Isn't that what you said earlier? That big fleshy bitch. Changed my diaper. I got that.
but I think that's where the two
Big
sides,
old hot shit in my pants.
that's where the two sides of the argument come from. One side that is probably secular or agnostic would say that's Darwinism and that's how evolution has worked, because way back when we started eating protein from a fire that caused us to genetically modify ourselves to where our brains advanced further. On the spiritual and religious side, you would say that's God's
Will.
design, the creationism of it. He created man separate from the beast for that reason. So I think that's where you could, like, to your point where you're like, hey, we should be able to talk to a flea or that frog that was outside. Darwinism would say, no, through evolution, you've advanced to this point where frogs haven't. On the religious side, you would say that through God's creation, men and beasts were not meant to be communicated, and that's how you were designed. That was how we were designed from the start.
But still, with that being said, I feel like you can take a four-legged critter, let's just say mammal for this argument, but I'm not strictly saying mammals. You take a mammal from this continent and a mammal from another continent, and they can communicate.
Yes.
But you can take us from this continent, yeah, of the same type, right? So you take, both cattle. So you take a heifer from this one and a heifer from that one, and they're both going to bitch about the bull not doing enough bullshit, no matter what continent it's from.
Yeah.
But you take a person from this continent and a person from another continent, and without prior training, they cannot communicate with.
That's
But I would disagree.
total bullshit.
Yeah, I would disagree.
Total bullshit.
Because I would say that you could, to
You
a
could
certain extent,
100% communicate.
you just wouldn't be able to speak the exact language, but there would be some.
Okay,
not
I
all,
can
not, all,
define
not
that.
all communication is
Verbal.
verbal.
I think
Okay.
studies show that like 70% plus of communication is nonverbal, anyways. Maybe even 90.
Okay. That's why I brought the topic. This is what I want to hear. This is a good conversation.
Yeah, I mean it is. I just think that depending on what side of the
Because if
aisle
that was
you
the
fall
case,
on.
then when you went to Punta Cana,
Not in Mexico, by the
not
way.
in Mexico,
Dominican.
how in the would you get anything done? Like if
They
you
all spoke English.
okay, so then let's go to we're going to Papua New Guinea on vacation.
You want to know something? I was exactly thinking about.
Let's
Papua
go
New
to
Guinea.
Papua New Guinea on vacation, and we're going to go back up into the hills of Papua New Guinea, and some of those tribes have never seen modern human beings.
But to your point,
what are they
I
going
was trying to have a conversation with my transit driver, trying to figure out if I should tip this guy now or if I'm going to tip him later. Because we've got a ride there, we got to get a ride back. We could not figure out. We could not get on the same page. So finally I asked Google. They'll translate. You know, I said what I wanted to said, and then I played it for him. He goes, oh, same drive. Okay, and then I tipped him on the way back. But we could not get on the same page there. Now, you might.
Well,
now,
but
I can see the argument. Okay, are you hurting? I could tell if somebody's hurting no matter what language they speak. Are you sad? Yeah, okay. You could probably get across, I need to eat something. Maybe I'm about to shit my pants. But I mean,
or I want to bone you.
that'd be a tough one. Well, maybe that's just our culture
That's
now.
No, it wouldn't.
You
You come at them with a big old steely throbber, and they'll get it.
figure it out.
If it's a female.
But I think to your part where you're saying like couldn't get across to the driver, where do you tip? Like you could have showed him the old
that's
greenbacks.
That's nominal.
Yeah,
That
but
doesn't-
that's something
not
that
real
wasn't part of the
communication.
original design of things.
I mean, we were paying tributes way back when. There's always some sort of compensation for the actions. I don't care how far you go back in that Bible.
No, I mean it's just that's apples to oranges. Communication is communication.
It's all fruit.
Yeah. So before you learn to talk, I think your inner monologue is just it's not a spoken language. It's just a
Survival. Whatever it takes to survive.
instinct. I think it's just like instinctual thoughts. And with you not having
But if
not
you're
to give
saying
old
that, no, hold on. Now, if you're
dipshit down
saying,
the road any credit, but like that learning by experience, you know what I mean? Like that whole thing that he had brought up that night about being able to know what
but
to do
part
by
of-
experience.
Part of consciousness is self-awareness. Deer are self-aware, but they don't have a conscience, right? That's what we
How
say.
do you know they don't?
That's what we say sets us apart. We have morals because we have a conscience. So that's why I brought up in the beginning of this. When do you have consciousness? When do you have self-awareness? If you have self-awareness,
I believe it's learned.
so when you're born,
You don't have that self-awareness.
No, I believe it's.
so no consciousness, no moral,
No,
no
no,
moral
no, no.
compass.
I don't believe you. I believe that's learned. I honestly do. I believe that's
Now that would negate everything I'm bringing up, which is I can buy into.
because you go
But
over,
if you
like
have
you once again
consciousness,
you go over
as soon as
to
you're born, then you must be able to communicate and have complex thoughts of the world and everything around you. That's consciousness, self-awareness.
Yeah, I believe your moral compass and everything like that is a learned thing. Like I don't think it's instinctual because I believe that like the carnal instinct of humans are just you go back to Neanderthals and you look at
And this would prove true because then at that point in time, I'm hungry. I got to eat.
Yeah.
I'm going to kill something if I have to.
yeah, I got to shit. I'm gonna go shit.
If that thing dies, I don't care as long as I don't die.
yeah,
If that's where, okay.
but that was all based on speculation. You know what I
No,
mean? 'Cause
100%.
because nobody,
And I'm not arguing. I'm not
nobody
arguing
was
against
there to document.
Right.
that.
I'm not arguing against it, but that would
One would only
that
assume
would
that was the way that is.
satisfy my question, as there is no inner monologue because you just have live or die.
Yeah, sink or swim.
Yeah, irregardless of if the
Eat or
baby
be
in the
eaten.
thing next to you lives or dies, I don't care because something in me tells me I need to live. If I'm going to live, I need sustenance of some sort.
Yeah,
But if there's self-awareness and consciousness, hey, I'm in bad shape, but if I do this, then that's going to affect this one. That's where that inner monologue would come from.
yeah.
Okay. That would answer that. But then consciousness then comes at some other time, a learned thing.
Yeah, I believe that. I do. Yeah, because there's no, just like when we remember that one episode that lives in the bowels of the internet that'll never see the light of day.
Helen Keller.
How do you know she's not just finger banging herself in church?
Yeah.
Because there's nobody that's going to be able to tell her not
Just
to.
did it because she felt good.
Because she just did it because it felt good. You know what I mean? What's keeping me
We
from
need to
taking a big
revisit
fat
that
shit in
just
my
for-
hand and just rubbing
just-
it all over your face?
Yeah.
Just watch
If
it.
I didn't know that was bad.
Yeah.
There's-
That's what I'm driving.
yeah.
And maybe there is no inner monologue. Maybe at that level, and then maybe I'll have a topic in a few weeks of how do you develop that and still get a moral compass.
I think the inner monologue comes as time
Okay.
goes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
That was a
Fair
real
enough. Fair enough.
Good one.
There we
Head
go.
scratcher.